Audio, video, and we're good.
Audio, video.
We're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Does It Get Better? I'm Neil.
I'm Rich.
We're saying it's a mental health podcast about hope, but really it's Rich being positive and me being negative. It's been, everyone struggles, especially now with, some people worse than others. We decided that it might be helpful to some people if we share what's going on with us.
Yeah.
This week the topic is communication.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing that right now.
We're communicating with each other and with people on the internet.
People on the planet.
Yeah.
What specifically about communication? You brought up the topic, so I figured you might have something.
Yeah.
You want to get off your sexy little chest.
I had to show the doctor my bod today at a doctor's appointment a little while ago, and it was my physical, so I had to. He wanted to see my skin. Can I see your skin for a second? Like, okay. So he looked at my skin. Everything's okay, though, by the way.
Good.
Yeah. So communication I wanted to talk about because it's a little bit light, like I said. It's a little bit lighter of a subject, but it's really important in the scope of what we are talking about, because a lot of what I went through and still going through could have been, I don't want to say prevented. I don't think I would have been in a different spot, but maybe it would have gone a little bit different of a way if I had communicated better with all the people around me at the times I was having trouble. And still to this day, you get in habits of, well, I'm not gonna call that person, or I'm not gonna talk to that person, or I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to cause a problem, or I don't want to burden somebody, or I don't want to hear their reaction to my thing. I think the biggest thing for me is that if you communicate when you're having problems, it would help in the end, because people will understand what you're going through a little bit more, rather than it coming all building up in your head and not communicating any of it, and then it all just coming out at once, which is kind of what happened with me. Do you consider yourself a good communicator? There's different ways you can communicate too, so maybe we could just touch on that.
So I feel like I'm good socially, but I don't communicate issues. Like, I think society trains us as men that we're not supposed to talk about stuff at all anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that really, even now, people are breaking down gender roles and stereotypes and stuff. I still think and it's not even necessarily a toxic masculinity. It's just what we're told is masculine.
Right.
You don't talk about your feelings. You keep it, deep down, and then you just scream about it, or you go, punch a heavy bag, or you know what I mean? It's never a sewing circle. You know what I mean? There's no
yeah.
We'd all go crochet this weekend and talk about our feeling. That would be, that would be frowned upon.
Right.
We can't just.
You can't be calm and talk about your issues. No, you have to.
Docile. You have to you have to do it over Call of Duty. So yeah, I think I'm with you. A lot of the issues, would be easier to deal with if we would just actually deal with them. You were talking about it last week a little bit, where you have to be honest with your therapist or your psychiatrist or whomever, and it's yeah, I'm not, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's a level of I've said this before. There's a level of hokiness for me. when they're like, and how did that make you feel? I'm like, yeah, get the shit.
Don't say that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how it made me, you know how it made me feel, man? It made me angry. Get out of here. Shut up. So like, you know, I don't communicate well with those people. You know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, like even like the doc, like you said, you saw your regular doctor today, and he was like, "Oh, how's your
skin?
you know what I mean?
Show
Like,
me your skin. Like, come on.
the doctor was like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "I'm fine." What do you, you know? And
Like,
they'll
I
be
didn't
like,
want to
"Oh,
leave the house. I don't want to be here right now.
yeah."
But
They'll be like, "Oh, well, you're, like, they'll say like, "Oh, are you this?" And I'll be like, "Why am I that? Did you find out that I'm that? Why don't you just tell me I'm that?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
like when I went to get the last time I went for the leg, the doctor was like, some of the reasons you might be healing slowly is this. Are you this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. You're the doctor. Am I that? Like, you guys did 9,000 tests on me while I was here. Like,
Yeah.
am I, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that's communication or not.
No, it's communication. I think for you're in those respects, let's say doctors, therapists, professionals, whatever, your communication is kind of like you expect them to communicate with you. You want them to be like, here's an answer, and you be like, okay, and that might like satisfy a question or relieve you in some way. But if a professional presents you with a question, that hits a weird nerve for you. You're like, but wait, no, you tell me, right? Like,
yeah, like you're the pro, like,
yeah, this is your job. You tell me that.
I don't know.
How's that make you feel? Like, you don't want to hear that question. You want to be like, hey, this is how I feel. Can you give me some insight on it? Not ask me. I want you to tell me about my thoughts.
Yeah.
Or my leg. I want you to tell me. Do you think your comedy is a communication? Are you communicating in your
'cause
comedy?
it's a monologue, not a dialogue.
Okay. All right.
Like, I especially don't want anyone talking to me while I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
But the things you say, are they away? This might be too, I don't want to say
cry
hokey,
for help.
but yeah, is it a cry for help? Basically.
This next joke's about how deep down I really miss my parents.
Jesus.
No, I don't believe that it's a cry for help.
What about when you were singing in bands? Was that communication?
I mean, that was more emotional. Like, it would be topics that I was more emotionally attached. I don't know, because there's honesty in comedy. Like these are honest things that happen to me, but they're more anecdotal. It's more anecdotal than it is emotional. Like, even though, like, you have to connect with the material emotionally, it's different. It's different emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is a true story and it resonates with me, and I'll retell it. But when you write lyrics for bands, it's like, it's more of a bloodletting. It's more of a, like, like a more cathartic.
You're laying it out.
I want to keep working in hardcore bands' names. You're like a cross bearer. You're like, you want to navigate stark weather.
You might be in a crisis, but
yeah, so you're like, yeah. You want to harvest your emotions. You want to be you don't want to be disembodied.
Right, yeah, and you don't want to be a martyr AD either.
Yeah, you don't want your feelings to go unbroken.
Communication is just like, I've learned a lot in the last year about how to. So, do you feel like
Was it like a birthright for you, or?
keep going? Keep going. It's okay.
You were saying
communication breakdown. I didn't communicate a year ago with anyone about the insane depression and guilt and.
so you chose a path of resistance.
Yes.
All right, that was the last one. That was
Yes,
the
I
last
did.
one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm taking this seriously from now on. I'm sorry.
Are you? Because you don't have to. It's okay. What do you want? The cat's really communicating right now. I didn't say anything to anyone. I kept it all inside. And when I started a little bit of therapy, the first therapist I had, she was good, but like just kind of like talking to just kind of like venting. Really, it didn't teach me a lot about like how I should be managing these feelings and who I should be telling and why I should be telling them. And then until I got my current therapist, Mike, he one of the first things that he talked about was, he asked me, like kind of like situation you talk about your therapist, like, how does it make you feel? But he asked me a question like, how do you communicate? And I say, I kind of don't, because my personality type thinks if I communicate with someone about something I feel, I worry about the burden it'll put on the other person. So therefore, I don't want to communicate because I don't want to burden or worry that person or make them mad or get a negative reaction. So it's that like catastrophic thinking, like we've talked about before, like, oh, if I say this, they're going to get mad and then it's going to be this whole thing. So I'm just not going to say anything. That's like the worst way to not communicate, because in my situation, I wasn't communicating with those who were close to me. And a couple of those people were left to like guess about what was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, after I finally was like, hey, I'm hurting myself and I can't hide it anymore. So there's some communication that I should have said 6 months ago because I was hiding stuff, and for those 6 months of not communicating, people were wondering and people were worried and people were, making up things in their own heads. And then that's kind of where things start to fall apart because I wasn't honest and upfront. It's too little too late in the end when you already kind of like should have been communicating. So that's why when I started this therapy and when I went to the program at the psychiatric hospital, a lot of it was like real weird, saying really how you feel and knowing that when you say it, the outcome, you'll have to prepare yourself for an outcome, but you have to be able to handle it. And that's something I wasn't able to do before. And the outcome being like, oh, if I let's use my mom, for example, right? This thing with the basement, like before I would have been a mess because the basement was a wreck and I'd have to call my mom and tell her. And I know like in my head, I would be like, oh, she's going to be mad and she's going to be mad at me. This stuff that I've said before. Yeah. But now, after learning how to communicate, and be like, listen, I addressing things in the way I do it. Some people do it differently, but preface a conversation with, this might be a difficult thing to deal with, but here's the facts. What should we do now? You know what I mean? Rather than hide things and rather than lie about things and rather than sugarcoat things, telling the truth about, even if they're bad things, is really important. And I think where you're at, I don't know how you communicate in, what you're trying to deal with yourself. I mean, I like what you were just saying, like you don't have like a group of people you sit down with and like just have a vent sesh, right? Like you kind of.
No, not really. I mean, no. And
like, how do you? This, right?
This. Yeah.
Excuse me. So,
But that's the thing. It's like it's preparing for the outcome. So when you go to a doctor for a physical, he's like, "Oh, do you have any like terminal ideations?" And like, I lie. You know what I mean? Because I don't want him to get an idea that I can't handle. I don't want to end up, you know, someone with like authority over me.
right.
So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not honest in a lot of cases. Like, I don't communicate the truth because fear of what someone will,
Right.
you know.
Their reaction or their
Yeah.
interpretation of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to change it. It'll help in the long run. I mean, it's helped me be able to like confront, situations a little bit better. But man, like looking back, so a lot of this stuff that I talk about, it's interesting for me as well to like talk about the stuff and then think about where I was at and what I was doing and how I would do it now. It's like night and day. Like I learned a lesson. I lost a lot of things. I went through a lot of stuff. But, coming out the other side of like still looking back on all this stuff and realizing all the wrongs. I can't say it's wrong because people go through shit, right? And when you're in an extreme your mental health is being pushed to an extreme for the first time ever in your life. You have no idea how to handle it. You can't prepare yourself, right? So I always fall back and be like, oh, I did this wrong thing, and I was a bad person, and I gotta like kind of refresh the way I talk about myself and how we as people talk about ourselves when we might learn a lesson on how we've acted or what we've done because of our mental health. I feel good admitting, yeah, like I could have done a lot of things different, and I wish I could have, but my communication skill my whole entire life was always avoidance. I always avoid, for some people, so this typical thing like, hey, how's it going? Like when you're close friends, like if you were to text me, hey, how you doing? I would tell you how I'm doing. Like when my grandfather had passed away and I called you, I lived in Massachusetts then. I remember I was in the car and I was really upset because it was just like, it was right after that had happened. And you were like, if you ever need to talk, just talk to me. Right. And like,
what I say, if you want to talk about it or not talk about it, let me know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind. So those are the people that you can you trust. That's like, okay, I can open up to you, but say maybe another friend in your circle of friends, that like you can't, right? Or you don't want to, or you don't want to like burden them with it. But there was a moment in like for my communication, like it was in June. It was right before I went into into that program for the week-long program. I had gone for my evaluation thing because I had my breakdown, and I went over to my friend's house because they were concerned about. One of my friends knew what was going on. I could confide in them, and I was like, "This is what's happening," and they were like, "Why don't you come over? So and so's coming over. We're gonna just have food. We're gonna watch, hang out." So I went over and like. In my head, I'm like, I have to tell these because these were close friends of mine, just like 3 very close friends. And like that was the moment where I was like, hey, listen, I want to tell you all what's going on with me so you understand. Because I didn't want to be that friend or that person that keeps hiding things and then down the road ends up like ruining friendships or ruining my relationships with people because I wasn't telling the truth and they don't understand. People don't understand. So I told them everything that was going on and I told them where I was at. And I was like, and I'm going to, going to the psychiatric hospital for a week because I need it, because it's time for me to address, you know, and I communicated that, and everybody understood, and they were proud of me, and they understood it. And that's like the stuff that, like, if we only did that all along, like how much things would be better, but we didn't, right? And we learned from our mistakes, and I learned from my mistakes. I learned from what I did and didn't do.
Yeah, but I feel like, I mean, that's part of the, like, societal norms, where it's like, now that I am like this past 4 weeks or whatever, like, I've been communicating, you know, my mental health.
Yeah.
And like
mental health.
Like, it feels whiny.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like, oh, I'm complaining, like, you know, like, I don't want to be that guy. You know, so it's like, why do you not want to be that guy? Why do people who feel that, why do you not want to be that guy? Is it because you don't want to burden the other person with your stuff? I don't want to be whiny.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. Why not? I don't know. Doesn't it feel? I don't know. Feels like I don't know.
Does it feel not manly?
And how does that make you feel? Yeah, not manly, not tough. But like more than that, like, yeah, like a burden or it's annoying.
It's annoying. Yeah.
And I don't want to be annoying, you know, unless I'm purposely being annoying. Like, I'm not touching you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
You don't like that feeling? You don't like feeling that way, right? Yeah.
I don't like feelings.
If we all didn't have feelings, things would be a lot better.
Feelings. It's not that I'm being a burden. It's that, like, you know, like I've been saying all along, like, I know that other people have it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so by complaining, or how I perceive it to be complaining.
Well, that's one thing. Okay, go ahead.
It's not doing anything. It doesn't help. It doesn't fix what's wrong. It doesn't make anything easier or better.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts this, like, bullshit out in the world, you know? I don't know, in the universe.
You mean by you what you just said, you mean that if you were to, as you put it, complain, you'd be putting negativity out there, and that doesn't do anything for you. That doesn't do anything for the universe.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to clarify how that thought pattern was. Because, like, I had a lot of negative feelings about myself and my life and stuff, you know, and I definitely didn't want to put them out there because I didn't want to burden other people. But I think the knowing that you have a person or people that you have to break that ice with eventually, whether it be a therapist or it be a close friend or it be a relative or whatever, having that one person to talk to that first time about the things that are really, like, bugging you or what you're going through, or like, man, every night I think more and more about how, you know, how much better it would be if I wasn't this way. And it's like something that you don't say out loud. You only say it in your head. I feel like when I finally said the things out loud that I was doing or thinking to I mean, it was my therapist, really. It was professional help, and a lot of the stuff I was helped with because I had professional help, and I recognize that not all of us are in the don't have the, I don't want to call it luxury, but don't have the ability to have professional help. But once I was in that environment, and I just knew there was a person that was listening and was giving me feedback on things and making me see that the thoughts that I had, the negative, like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to tell them because they're going to be mad at me if I say I've been hitting myself. Like, no, they're not. If that person cares about you, they care about your well-being, they're not going to be mad at you. They're going to talk to you, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm speaking about people that you would trust with this information, like, I'm just not going to go out and just talk to a stranger about it. But I think learning that communication isn't as bad as some of us make it out to be, and like communicating the truth. Like I told my bandmates, what was going on after a little while, after my run through the whatchamacallit, the program, I was just like, listen, this is what's going on. So if I seem a certain way, this is it. And like every time I say it, it's easier to say. You say it once, and that like eases that like feeling of burden each time. And you know what? They were all like, holy crap, man, we understand. If you need anything, let us know. You know what I mean? Like, it gets easier once you recognize that the thing that you're worried about isn't as bad as you think it is. And it all comes down to communicating it, Like, hey, if you're not in a good mood and you don't want to do a podcast one day, just say it and you'll feel better. But don't make it a habit, because then that's bad. But you're allowed to feel certain things and you're allowed to communicate them. And that's something that I didn't live by that at all for so long. Like, I felt like I wasn't allowed to communicate how I felt.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. And I think that's what, I don't know, just like growing up does to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just taught that.
Mm-hmm.
You're taught not to. So I hear with so many people, like men and women, who are like, oh yeah, like my family, we don't
talk about that.
We don't do that in my family. We don't share in my family, or we don't say I love you with my family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw one the other day. It was like, oh, we don't say I love you with my family. We say, I'm picking up Dunkin' Donuts. You want anything? It's like, oh, you care about me. And I think that's the reality for so many people. It's just like, we don't say it. We don't say like, how we're feeling or how someone makes you feel, or, you know what I mean?
I'm still, absolutely. I'm still, my family, speaking of that, like family dynamic, like my family has always been very like, we don't talk about our feelings. And not like because a parent told us like, we don't do that. It was like, because I think like my family, we are all sensitive people, my sisters and my mom, like that's my family, right? We're all sensitive people. And we recognize that if we say something that might, for lack of a better term, offend the other person, we don't want that. We don't want them to feel like that. So therefore we won't say it, and we'll just hold on to it. So then as a family, we're always connected, and the years go by and we don't talk about certain things and don't talk about certain things. And then like many years later, we eventually have to talk about them. And it's like, why are you talking to me that way? Why are you saying that? And, well, because for 35 years I was never able to say it, and now I'm finally trying to say it. Or like the one that I really gets me is like, oh, this is so unlike you. I'm like, well, No, I just wasn't allowed to say these things because I was afraid of how you would react. You know what I mean? That's the one that gets me all the time. Is like, you shouldn't feel that way. Why not? Why shouldn't I feel that way?
That's a good one. You shouldn't feel that way.
That's the worst. That's the worst. You can't. It's so unfair to have that said to you because that person is laying down a precedent of like, I interpret you as this way, and that's how I'm going to talk to you in that way. And even if you try to be different than what I think, I'm just kind of going to bounce it back on you because that's not you.
That's a crazy thing just about like humanity is like people always view people the way they first viewed them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and what's interesting to me is that such a large percentage of our society prides themselves on not changing,
Mm-hmm.
not growing. And it's like people change and grow, and that's great. Like we learn things about ourselves or about the way we act and
Mm-hmm.
deal with things that we want to make better, and we strive to be better people. And then there's like a faction of society that's just like, I'm not changing.
This is me. This is it.
And it's like, that sucks. Like that, you suck. And then they project that, like, then it's like, oh, that person can't change either.
Mm-hmm.
This is a silly example. I'm using a silly example.
Please do.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
He did the Man Show, and he was this like toxic masculine guy, and he wore blackface in a sketch. And that's like 20 years ago, whatever it is. Or even if it's 10 years ago. I think it's 20 years ago. Even if it's 10 years ago. Now he's like super politically active. He donates to 1 million charities. Like, he tries to be inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
and all these things. And it's like, he's changed. You know what I mean? And anyone who's just like, oh, that was him, you're wrong. That this is not him anymore.
Right. Right. You said that thing, so that's him, and that's how it's gonna know. Like,
yeah, and it's crazy to me that people like people will take down someone for something they said when they were 17.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe you knew what you were going to be when you were 17, but I've changed. I've changed since 5 years ago. I've changed since 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly trying to be better. Like, I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, there's points. Nobody's perfect. We've heard that a million times in our lives, right? And there's points in your lives. There's points in our lives that
I'm not changing.
There's points that you hit, and like I was saying earlier, that you don't know how you're going to react, right? If you put in a situation, you just don't know how, and you fly off the handle. I went to a place that I never thought I'd be, and that's what I've said to people before. Like I was like, you always read about it, and you always see documentation of people who you think are one way, and they end up being the complete, again, like opposite of what people's interpretation or impression they have of you. And you end up in this spot, and you don't know what to do, and you say crazy shit, and you do crazy shit, and you make all the wrong choices along the way of trying to mend all the crazy shit that you were doing. And it makes you look even crazier. And some people don't have, and I've always said this, and it's some people don't have the clarity to pick up a phone and communicate with a professional like, hey, I know I need help. I'm calling you, and this is when I called the psychiatric hospital. Like I woke up and I was like, I need professional help. I knew I needed it before, but I just couldn't because I was like, no, I'm going to get through it. And then I flew off the handle because of the situations that were happening at that time. And I was able to make a phone call and communicate like, hey, I'm in a spot that I never thought I was going to be in before. I'm hurting myself and I need help. And that's one of the things that I hope to pass on to people who listen to this and who I talk to and whatever, is that the communication of just being like, I recognize there's something wrong and can you help me? Because that was a part of me that my whole life, how we don't ask for help. You figure it out. Oh, you scraped your knee, get up and figure it out. Just go, keep going on.
Rub some dirt in it.
Yeah, exactly. Rub some dirt in it, and don't cry because you look like a weakling if you cry. Just keep going. And that was my moment of like, I can't be that person anymore. I can't not say anything. I can't not ask for help. And asking for help for people is very, very difficult. And it was for me because I never ask for help. I will let something fall away and crumble and lose it completely before I ask for help, because what we were talking about earlier is burdening some other person with your problem. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if I only asked so-and-so to help me, it would have been fine. And then you live with that like, oh, well, I did have that thing and now it's gone because I didn't ask. I could have just, and you come across it years later like, oh, you should have just asked so-and-so. They would have done that for you. And like, oh, all right. But my point is that the communicating and opening up to that and being vulnerable enough to be like, hey, psychiatric hospital, yeah, I'm calling this number because I see it's on your website and it's for people like me in this situation. What do I do? And that's what they're there for. And there's a whole bunch of resources for people in those situations. And come on down, we'll help you out. I was like, that's it? That's all I have to do?
That's such a huge, that must have been such a huge decision for you. Like, did you go to therapy before that? Like, were you in therapy? So that was just like 0 to 100, like just.
Yep. It was the most extreme. Yeah, it was just the most extreme decision and like realization. And like when I left, like the woman on the phone was like, pack a bag because once they do the evaluation, they might want to keep you here. They might not want it. It's going to probably take all day. So, and I was like, but my dog, my cat, what am I going to do if I have to stay? And she's just like, well, you'll have to figure it out. And I'm just like, and even in that moment, I'm like, oh, I can't ask somebody to help watch you know what I mean? I was like more worried about asking somebody for help to like walk George or feed the cat than I was that little thing was actually going to set me back and make me not go because I might have to stay overnight and then have to ask somebody to watch the dog and the cat, right? But I was like, all right, I'll figure it out. I know there's somebody, so I texted my friend, like, hey, I might need to stay over and can you maybe help me? And, it was so difficult. But again, if you have these people in your life that you can trust with this level of emotional and mental outpouring, they'll help you. And then like the text back I got was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And are you okay? Do you need anything?
Yeah, anything you need.
Yeah. So
people are more supportive than you think they're gonna be.
Exactly.
And I found I have to stop my video for a second because I have to fix my boxers. Can we... Okay. I mean, you can hear. I mean, I can keep my mic on.
Yeah.
It's just with a broken foot, I end up showing more than I want to show.
I wonder what had been going on with your boxers that you just got to a point where you're like, all right, I got to fix this.
Yeah, they just like because every time I move in the couch, like they shift, and it was just like, all right, now I'm in a place I gotta.
Yeah.
I gotta ask for help. I have to communicate.
Yes.
That there's something that my boxers aren't great. Oh yeah, so I found just when I started writing about what I was going through with my ankle and like how that was affecting me mentally. Like I found like people like you're surprised by who reaches out. Like I knew, I always knew that there was a strong network of friends around me. You know what I mean? That like if push came to shove, you know, people would be,
Yeah, of course. Right.
would rally around me. You know, but then like just how many and like who and like weird to say, like almost like fans, like people that I don't know at all, but that found me through like a band or through comedy, like, and now they follow me on Twitter, or they follow me on Instagram, or you know, a few that, you know, like friend requested me on Facebook, and then it's like like those people were quick to reach out, and it was like, oh, like people give a shit, and like had I not communicated how I was feeling, I wouldn't have gotten that outpouring of love. So that was really that was nice.
It's nice because, you know, I think you and I are maybe similar in this aspect, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we take our output into the world for granted. We don't realize how much we put out for other people until it's in a moment like you're like fans and people, like acquaintances that you thought would never, they'd be like, reach out to you. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more people out there who care about you and your well-being than you think there are, you know? And it does take just like, you know, just the most minuscule amount of like communication, and whether it be just like a public thing, like, you know, you write something on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and be like, hey, I'm just kind of going through a thing, and, you know, whatever, just, you know, if I don't seem like myself, whatever it is that you feel appropriate to put out there to let people know that you're like not where you feel like you should be, that will have people just be like, these good people in your life will reach out and just let you know, hey, I'm here, whatever you need. And I've found that too with being back on social media and just having and being open enough to like share things about myself and my life and where I've been and like what I've been going through. People are amazing, and people, exactly same thing, like people who I haven't communicated with in over 20 years will send you a message and be like, hey, if you ever need anything, here's my number, talk to me, this, that, and the other thing, you know, like, and it really, and now because I learned how to communicate these serious things, where I would have no problem reaching out to like somebody who I thought is a stranger, so to speak, at this point in my life. But because they offered that little bit of help, I know there's another person out there that I could say, hey, listen, you know, you said you could talk. Let me just, can I run this by you real quick? You know?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, I have nothing to add.
It's fine.
Anything else you wanted to say about communication? Like, touch on
No, you know, I think I said pretty much the important parts. I just wanted to vocalize, and kind of what you were saying about putting things into the universe, being like, you don't like doing that because it's like negative, but I feel like this podcast that we do is a good outlet for me to just like say whatever the hell I want to say, and I don't really care. I don't really care who hears it, because it's like therapy, right? We're freely speaking to one another, but we are opening ourselves up in hopes that it helps other people. But, you know, I just like, the reason I had asked you yesterday if like communication was something you want to talk about is because like I had spent a good amount of this last weekend just thinking about where I was at, right? It's Christmas time. It was a little bit different for everybody this year, whoever celebrates Christmas. And, you know, probably a lot of people were alone or like minimal family or no family. And that was kind of like Christmas Day for me. I was alone, and like I do a lot of thinking. I'm a bad thinker, you know, like if I get in those like, oh, you know, this happened, and oh, this happened. And basically what I'm getting at is that, like, I know a lot of the stuff I went through and the stuff I was doing to myself and the stuff that I could have prevented, was a big factor of it was just not communicating and not communicating with those around me, those who care about me, those who I should have been communicating with. And it's just like, I see it now. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people won't ever see what was wrong. And I just feel like the biggest factor to what was wrong with me is that I wasn't communicating. If I started talking and hoped that the people that said they would understand and that said, you know, talk to me if you need anything, if I would have taken that advice a year ago, I feel like things would have been a little bit different in my life. My path would have been a lot more positive. I think I would have been able to talk about the grief and the regret and the sadness I had that stemmed from Buddy passing away. You know what I mean? If I just talked about it in a true open fashion, you know.
But that's, I mean, like, I don't know if you're kicking yourself about it, but like, you can't blame yourself, because so many people are like, oh, you know, if you ever need anything, reach out. Oh, reach out.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Like, do they, you know what I mean? Like, and then you do, and they're like, oh, it's heavy. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like, it feels, I don't know. And you never know. And then people are like, no, I mean it. And you're like, all right, I appreciate that you mean it, but.
But I'm not going to talk to you anyway, so.
I don't know. Yeah. Because then it really is a burden. You know what I mean? Like, I say it all the time. I'm like, oh, you know, reach out if you ever need anything. But, like, really what I mean is, like, reach out if you want to get your mind off of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm pretty upfront with that too, because like when your grandpa passed, like I know that's what I say to people. I'm like, all right, well, if you ever need to talk about it, or if you ever want to talk about anything but it, let me know. Like, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'll get your mind off it, whatever. Like, if someone, like, you know, if a friend breaks up with someone, and like, yo, we can talk about everything else.
Right.
You know? Like, talk about death metal and, you know, tattoo artists and you know, whatever it is, get your mind off it.
Yeah.
80s sitcoms, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's not think about Denise or whatever.
Yo, do you know what Pluto TV is? Do you know what the app? The free TV. It's like a free TV app on. No, well, there's a Wings station. Did I tell you this? They just play Wings 24/7. It's being recognized.
That's your whole thing.
It's my thing. That's all it's on. That's it.
Would you say that you're the biggest Wings aficionado?
100%. In
what?
100%.
In
the entire planet. Yes.
You're number one Wings aficionado.
100%.
All right.
I doubt there's anybody out there who knows, can reference, and can, like, discuss plot lines and recall certain things on that show. That I can do it all. I can do it all. Every single thing.
So, who are the two main guys?
The actors' names?
Yeah.
Steven Weber and Tim Daly.
What did they do after that? I don't even know who they are.
Nothing. Actually,
the only one who did anything after that was Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, Tony Shalhoub did Monk and all the other stuff. Yeah. Steven Weber was.
There's a Shining TV show.
They did a miniseries for The Shining. It was like really to the book. It was really true to the book. And he was also in Party Down.
I remember Party Down.
He was like a Russian, like a rich Russian guy in Party Down. And
just like one episode, or
he was a character in like a couple episodes. But yeah, he those are the only things I saw Steven Weber do. Tim Daly, I don't think he did anything. He's on that. He just sits back on that Wings money.
Is there Wings money?
Well, if it's being syndicated on Pluto, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I would love to do this Wings rewatch podcast that I was talking about and have, reach out and see if I can get one person who was on Wings to talk to me about Wings. Cause that would be it. That'd be the thing.
When are you starting that pod?
Within the month, probably, when we get into 2021, we'll start doing it.
I look forward to it.
Me too.
Are you going to do it episode by episode?
Yeah.
Like people can watch along with you?
Yep.
All right. Maybe I'll start watching Wings. I love Tony Shalhoub. I don't want to say I'm a big Tony Shalhoub fan, but
big fan, big Shalhoub fan.
I am a Shalhoub.
A Shalubian?
I mean, if I'm ranking Tonys, Shalhoub's got to be top 5 Tonys.
Yeah. Yeah. He's up there. Tony?
Yeah, the 3 guys in Tony, Tone. I mean, I guess that's the top 5, right? It's
Tony, there it is.
Tony, Tone, Tony Hawk, and Tony Shalhoub. Not in that order, but that's probably the top 5. Is that how it worked? Is Tony, Tone 3?
It was.
Tonys?
It was. I mean, maybe there was their stage names, but they were.
Because like Pink Floyd, there's no like John Pink and Richard Floyd.
No. John
But
Pink.
Tony Tone, you think this? Oh, Tony Braxton.
Oh.
He's probably up there.
Yeah.
Unchain my heart. Say you love me forever. Drew Hill.
Is that a Tony?
No, there's no Drew or a Hill in that band.
Oh, that's right.
It's like, wasn't Cisco in Drew Hill?
that's your field. I'm Wings, your mid '90s R&B and rap.
Hold on, Drew Hill. I gotta look this up. Drew Hill is an American. Yeah, 92. Past members. Members: Cisco,
Nice.
Nokia the Entity, but spelled weird, so it took me a second.
Of course.
Jazz Anthony, James Green, Rufus Waller, Smokey Diglera, and Antoine Simpson. Yeah, I knew Cisco was in that. All right. That's a lot of people in Drew Hill.
That's a lot. And no Drew, no Hill.
Drew. Maybe that's where they're from. Are they from like an area of like maybe California called Drew Hill?
Probably.
Let's see. They're from Baltimore, so is there like a Drew Hill area of Baltimore? Early career. It doesn't say. If anybody out there is from Baltimore,
is there a Drew Hill?
Let us know if there's like a Drew Hill, because like Cypress Hill is named after Cypress Hill.
Right.
There's no Cypress in that band. Drew Hill, Baltimore. Drew Hill, Baltimore, Maryland.
So
Druid Hill. There's a Druid Hill
in Baltimore.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe that's it.
Tweet Cisco. Yo, at Cisco.
At Cisco. Yo.
What's up, man? Long time no talk. So, where's Drew Hill?
Is Drew Hill a place?
You got anything left? Communication?
Well, just looking at the comments here. Dana McAllister, she's a very funny comedian. She's the girl, the comedian with polio I was telling you about.
Oh yeah.
As someone with a mental illness and a physical handicap, I'd rather be in an IR lung for the rest of my life than a psych ward. on this podcast. Say, oh, thank you. And Elizabeth, not gonna get this last name right. Battiped. So is that Battipede?
All right.
Battipede.
Badapidi.
Battipede. I got you on. Can I do that? Can I do that? Is this racist? I got you on.
At this point, I think so. But there's an emoji for it, so.
There's an emoji for it?
Yeah, there's an emoji for this. Yeah.
Can I tell you that I was in a supermarket, ShopRite, and I always, like, whenever I pass, like, the Bucatini, I always buy Bucatini, but I always say Bucatini, and I just say it a lot. I just can't not say it. I'm very racist like that. And a kid with autism walked by with his mother.
Okay.
And I was going to Kathleen, and Kathleen's like, "Shut up! You're gonna piss off an Italian." No, Bucatini is how I talk. And an autistic kid walked by and just looked at me and went, "Bucatini," like this. And I just know that kid is always doing that now. And I ruined his mother's life.
Oh, that's great.
Mom's like, "Stop doing that.
Stop saying that. Good job.
Oh, but this is actually sad. Elizabeth said her husband was a great support person during the holidays, but he passed away in April.
Oh.
Sad.
I'm sorry.
Hopefully not from the vid. Hopefully natural causes or something. I don't know. Does that make a difference? I don't know if it makes a difference. We're sorry, Elizabeth. That's terrible, and I don't know how to react.
I don't know how to communicate.
I don't know how to communicate my feelings about that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's wrap up.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.
Thanks to you. Thanks for you to being. Thanks to you for being here.
Thanks at me.
Thank you, Rich. This means a lot to me, man. It's
no problem. I'm glad you asked.
I'm in better spirits because of you. I will tell you that.
Well, that makes me happy. That's the goal.
The first two, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to talk about sad shit with Rich. I don't want to do it." And now it's like, "Oh, I get to talk to Rich for an hour. Like, this
That's
is
awesome.
cool." Like, I know. We said that this wouldn't be our only communication,
Mm-hmm.
but if it is, I don't mind because
I get you. I feel the same. Yeah.
Like, we're chilling.
Right.
Right. I don't know. Little catch-ups.
Good. I like it.
Little catch-ups like you get at McDonald's.
Like,
okay.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, okay there.
All right. Until next week.
All right there. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Love you.
Send me the stuff.
I will. Have a good one.